Hey, John here. Here's the lick of the day number 99. This is an A Mixolydian picking lick. And as usual, you can find a link to the tabs in the description below or by clicking right here on the screen. I'll play it once slowly and then break it down. We start here on the 5th fret of the low E string. Right, so this one uses the A Mixolydian scale, and A Mixolydian is just like an A major scale but with a flat 7. So instead of 7, we take that and flat it. So we get that dominant sound. The start here is based on a 3 note per string scale, but I'm using the concept that I first heard of from John Petrucci and Steve Morse. And that's where you sort of fill in the gaps in a 3 note per string setting, or it can be pentatonic setting as well, but it just depends on what the scale shape looks like. But for all the 3 note per string scales, you basically fill in the gaps like this. So if we have whole steps, you can either fill in this gap, but I don't like the sound of that, so I fill in the second one here instead. And for this shape, it's going to be the same. It's just that shape, so it's going to be the same fingering for the lowest 3 strings. So in this case, 5, 7, 8, 9. So if we play that, starting with a downstroke, all alternate picked. Now when we get to the G string, we're going to start from 6. And now the scale has this type of shape, a half step and a whole step. So now the gap is, that's just what it is because we have 4 frets. And then when we go up to the next string, we're going to have, in the original scale shape, we have 7, 8, 10. So again, we just fill out this note. And then the final string, normally we have this shape, and then you will fill in this gap. So basically, when you have any 3 note per string scale that's based on the major scale and its modes, you will only have 2 different patterns basically. In the scale itself you have 3 because you have a whole step and a half step and a whole step, and 2 whole steps. But since both whole step and half step and whole step is going to cover 4 frets, it's going to be the same shape when you fill in the gaps. So it's only the last 2 whole steps where you're actually gonna get a different one. So, and again, I chose to fill out this thing, and that's where I've seen Petrucci do the same, and Steve Morse, and I think most people like that sound better. But if you like the other sound, go for it, because you have a choice here. So what happens here, you get a sort of a semi-chromatic sound, but since you have scale notes, basically the lowest note and the highest note, and also in the middle, but especially the lowest and the highest, it's going to be notes from the scale. It's going to give you this mix of chromatic sound and the actual color of the scale. Now I said normally we would do this, but I'm leading into this note to get into the arpeggiated section. So I do this instead. So I go up the way that I described, but then I do a pure chromatic thing here, just to lead up to that note. But it works great as well. So sort of rule with passing tones is that you need to make sure you don't stop on them. You have to lead somewhere. And also, if you want to get really deep on this stuff, when you have bebop lines and things like that, you need to place them correctly. So the notes on the beat will be chord tones or scale tones at least, and then the passing notes are in between the beats. Otherwise, it can sound a bit weird. But in this case, we get away with it. So it's less, I think in a sort of rock context, it's less important where you put them actually. So for this purpose, it's more for getting this smoother sound and getting a bit more color to to the actual scale. So with that said, we've led up to this note, and now we're just going to play this G major arpeggio. It's going to be 10, 7, 8, 7. I'm picking this like this: down, pull off, up, down, 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 and then up, pull off. So we got 8 notes. Then we take exactly the same shape, move it up to A, so, which is the 1 chord of the Mixolydian mode, and do exactly the same pattern. Only difference here is that I started with an upstroke as well. So here it's going to be a downstroke because we're coming from. So, and after that we get up to the 17th fret, and we're going to play this A add 9, A major add 9 arpeggio. So that's basically 17, 12, 14, 12, and then we have 1 note here, 14, 14, and 3 notes on the last string, which is 16, 14, 12. And I pick this like this: up, pull off, up, pull off, up, 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 down, up. All right, the whole thing from the beginning again. When it comes to practicing this, I think your best bet is to just do the normal chromatic or semi-chromatic type picking up and down the fretboard. It's a great exercise anyway, and it will translate really well to these patterns. But also make sure to go through all of the remaining 6 shapes of the Mixolydian mode, and basically that's the same shapes for any of the related modes of the major scales, but you have those 7 3-note per string patterns, and then you just fill in the gaps like I showed you. So whenever you have 2 whole steps, you fill in the second gap here, and then for the other ones we have a half step and a whole step. It's just going to be the same. So it's fairly easy to figure out. And I will work on those, because then you get some variety, and also you get used to seeing this in the scales, and you know, you want to be able to use this in a more spontaneous way eventually. So definitely give that a try, and it's a great picking exercise as well. And then for the sweep picking stuff, you know the drill by now. Slowly, and just move it up and down the fretboard. Same thing with this one. So you basically start as far down as you feel comfortable, so you don't hurt your hand. Do a couple reps in each position, and just move it up and down the fretboard. So move it up and down the fretboard. It's really important for your overall technique to get used to all the different tensions. And be patient. So just try to focus on accuracy, and you will be way happier with the results. Maybe not today, but in a few weeks from now, or a few months, especially if you put in some time. That's where you're really going to see this slower and more accurate type of practice really paying off. All right, that's it for this one. If you have any questions, just post them below. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.